Hi, welcome to Podlygamist, the Sisterwives rewatch podcast.
Sisterwives is a reality show centered on a Mormon polygamist family originating in Lehi, Utah. Over 12 years and 16 seasons, TLC's longest-running reality show tells the story of Cody Brown and his 4 wives, Mary, Janelle, Christine, and Robyn, and their journey as spouses and parents living plural marriage in the public eye. As superfans, we have watched the family as they grow and overcome challenges, endure numerous moves, face loss, and celebrate all the moments in between. We love the Brown family, and fresh off some major changes following season 16, we decided to go back to the beginning and embark on the ultimate rewatch so that we could see the early days with fresh eyes and try to draw connections between the Brown family of 2010 and where we are today. I'm Samantha Kaiser.
And I'm Haley Graff.
And this is Podlygamist, Season 1, Episode 7.
Welcome back, Podlygamist, to the Podlygamist pod. We've got a big episode today. It's like kind of like the season finale. Besides like reunion or like the tell-alls or specials after the fact.
Right.
So we effectively finished a season. So this is episode 7 of season 1. It aired originally on October 17th of 2010. And we have a one-liner from TLC about what this episode's about. Kody and his wives officially make Robyn wife number 4. We start off with a very hilarious guys' night.
I laughed out loud as soon as he's like, it's guys' night. And I was like, oh, okay.
Just a bunch of dudes doing pull-ups and high-fiving. They load up in the bourbon and ride away.
Logan is a part of it because he's almost a guy, basically.
Yeah.
Basically.
They make sure to make it clear there's no funny business going on, and I don't know what they're doing, just like having some root beers at Dave and Buster's. I don't know, like what you do with the teenagers.
What's a Mormon
bachelor
party like? I don't know.
It was funny. It was, literally doing where's this like Bowflex machine they have just set up in their living room and they're doing pull-ups?
Definitely a Bowflex.
So yeah, that was cute. I guess it was random and Cody's bros and Logan hanging out.
I liked how Logan was like, they gossip more than the women do. And you know what? I think he's right. All the guys that I know are pretty gossipy. Like, I feel like that's accurate.
I mean, they do. They love some dirt. They love to get the dirt on situation. I know. I mean, Alex over here, one of the most gossipy people that I know.
That's hilarious.
Where I bet like a little bit. I also am nosy and I like a little. Hence the fact that I love reality TV. I just like to be nosy about people's lives. But
I think everybody's a little bit like that, you know. But
yeah, I think that's probably a astute observation from Logan.
Right.
15-year-old Logan. Yeah, there's not much else to say about the bachelor party other than it was just a real dweeb fest. It felt very like Michael Scott's bachelor party, like
in the office. The guy's afternoon in.
Yeah, right. And then we kind of cut back to Robyn and her prep for the wedding events, which, like, I had a really small, pretty simple wedding, and I was really stressed out. And I'm looking at Robyn as steaming dresses. She's got the wrong invites. She's managing her children. I'm like, this has got to be so stressful.
Yeah, like she's basically. It kind of seemed like she was the only one doing anything.
Yeah, essentially.
Which I felt kind of bad for. She was running around like a mad lady on her wedding day.
She shows a good face, but I can't imagine how stressed out I would feel in that case. But I guess the wives gift her like a Kody survival kit.
Celery.
And it's riveting. Yeah.
Celery is like the first item in the survival kit. Apparently that is key to being with Kody, is he needs celery around.
Because he's the one person on Earth who prefers to snack on celery, who's not on a horrible starvation diet. I don't understand. To me, it's like a byproduct of soup. Where I'm definitely not looking forward to the celery in the soup, but it's usually there, and so I kind of deal with it. But definitely not eating stalks of cold celery out of the fridge in my free time. Right. And then the second, just deeply fascinating item she pulls out of the bag is salt.
No
Salt.
pepper.
Man, is there anything blander than the things that are in this bag? Like, it's just like,
Salt. So your most basic, your most basic seasoning, and your
yeah.
most tasteless vegetable.
Yeah. I don't know if he salts the celery to give it a little zing. But yeah, man. And then she has a real, again, riveting story about how Cody does not like pepper, and she one time made the mistake of making him eggs with pepper, and he said, "Oh, there's pepper," and she said, "Yeah," and he said, "That's okay. Christine will tell you how to make my eggs," and that was the story, and it was on the edge of my seat. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that was the whole story.
I was like, "Oh, glad we got that little peek behind the curtain of."
Right?
Actually, I have a interesting side note that just popped into my head. Actually, it has to do with Christine. Recently started that cooking show on the
Yeah.
TLC website, and there was a lot of feedback. I'll say kindly on the fan pages, as there always is, um, about how like Mormons are just generally known for bland food because it's all about like efficiency and a lot of times a small budget for a large family. So it's like huge pans of very bland egg bake or huge or very like simple casseroles with like seasonal vegetables, like that kind of thing. Like they're not known for like fine cuisines per se. Um,
I guess that makes sense. I never would have even thought about that, though, to be honest.
yeah, I wouldn't have either, but it was some of the comments that were floating around on cesspool of the Facebook fan page. So yeah, just a little tangent into the culture. I just thought about.
That is interesting, though. I mean, but, I would be willing to try it. Like, I
Yeah,
don't have any concerns that her recipes wouldn't be good or anything, so.
I trust her too. Um, and then Robyn kind of wraps up that little like deal with. He may seem high maintenance, but he's worth it.
I wrote that down, too. I was like, okay.
I don't know if she really provided like any examples. She just kind of said like he does so much for us. Basically, it was something along those lines.
Yeah, like, he'll ask a lot from you, but, like, he'll give a lot in return kind of deal.
I will say, he does seem very attentive. These currently in the show, he seems pretty
Right.
attentive. I will say for them, like he's not doing it perfectly, but like I would love to see who is doing it perfectly. This lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall he's pretty attentive, and we got to see kind of a lot of that in this episode. It seemed you got to see more of his like at least affection for Mary specifically, and like his
Which I have
attentiveness.
many thoughts about that,
As
which
do
we'll
I.
get to in the due time, but yes.
Just so night and day. It is so
Yeah.
crazy. The other two, because while like obviously his relationship was better with Christine at this time than it is present day. Um,
Right.
those two, Janelle and Christine and his relationships aren't all that different from how they are today. But his and Mary's relationship is like wildly different than what it is today,
It's so weird to see.
isn't
It's
it?
so weird to see them like flirting
Yeah,
and just
all
like,
of that. Oof.
yeah, I mean, it's very odd. Like, not odd in watching it the first time, but now watching back, like, it just so much has changed that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, let's see. We see more of Robyn's steaming dresses. Oh, and her address jar. It was so interesting that we dedicated so much of the show to this address jar. Um,
I want to know how. So they sent out the wedding invites, and it had the wrong address on it. So she comes up with this idea to do putting a jar at the address that's on the invites, putting a jar there. It's got like a picture of Cody and her, and saying, "Hey, this isn't the wedding location. It's actually reach in the jar, grab out the actual address." How how did they get the wrong address on the invites? I want to know.
it was
Because
a
it was the most random address, just like in the suburbs.
real address, right? It's almost like they just like missed one number or something on the thing, and it wound up being some location on a street somewhere. But like there
Yeah.
was no place. It's not like it was a different place. It was just like a random point on the map, right? Pretty much.
Well, because we see a whole kind of goofy montage of Cody going to get balloons and then just playing kind of like circusy sort of clowny music. He's pulling the balloons out, super windy, walking out of the store. And then he's driving around. He's like, this road isn't even straight as he drives around in a roundabout. Just very like cheesy, like
It's a
funny
real
like, little thing.
you know that like soundtrack that plays in the background. I gotta know what that track. And I'm sure there's a name for whatever that is, but I had to kind of remind myself like it was a different time. Even though this was only 12-ish years ago, it was a different time as far as the tech of navigation that we have today, where like how easy it would be to send out a mass text with a pin drop on it or whatever,
Right.
or on the Knot website that you have your wedding stuff on to like email everybody and be like updated address. Like it would be so much different to change that. Like you're not relying on snail mail, an address from the snail mail to like keep everybody current. And it sounds like they did some of that, like texting, calling, emailing.
But even so, I think too, because I mean, 2010, I personally didn't get, and I resisted getting a smartphone for a long time because I just am low technology in my life. But I didn't get one until like 2015 or so. So I mean, at this time, I don't know what their phones are. They probably have, flip phones with the button texty. It's very difficult. So I mean, and then so he wouldn't have like GPS or something on his phone either, where he's driving around trying to look for the address. Like, just much more difficult than it is today.
Well, we for sure weren't nabbing on our phones in 2010. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I just Googled most popular phone in 2010, and it was the Apple III. Uh,
Is that a smartphone?
iPhone. Oh no, sorry, iPhone 4 was the most popular phone in 2010. Um, but I got a feeling I certainly wasn't rocking an iPhone 4. Like, I think that was like a pricier option probably for people.
Yeah.
So I would assume if it wasn't like a low grade off brand smartphone, it was probably a flip phone or.
Or maybe like a BlackBerry.
Oh yeah, that's probably true. Like a Palm
But
Pilot.
yeah. But I mean, still, like you didn't have Google Maps or something.
Definitely not. And if you did, the data wasn't gonna like load the data
Right.
wasn't gonna
Yeah,
load.
no, you'd be paying like a lot more money for it.
You used to have to pay for data like by the measurement,
You'd
whatever.
get like 2 gigs of data a month, like
Yeah.
which would be used up when you watch one video on YouTube.
Oh, what a time. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Simpler time.
It was a simpler time. All the limitations. So it was a real funny like cookie jar with a very serious moody wedding like engagement photo on it saying attention, brown wedding is not here. But then I'm thinking like if they got the wrong so they're gonna pull out a slip with the address and they're gonna then find the correct one. Like I was just thinking if we didn't have nav on our phones, were they going into their car type
Without the map, like
their Garmin? Like Garmin G I guess
oh, maybe we did. I think we did have Garmin's at that time.
yeah.
Some people, not
I mean they were
everyone.
gonna go home and map quest it after that.
Right, go print it off and then drive home, print it off, and then drive back to the reception.
Another montage of like
You're like, it's fine. We'll just move everything back another hour because they need time to go home and get their map quest all set. So
that's so funny. My my parents still to this day will if we're going to the same location in separate cars, they'll be like, "Oh well, I'll just follow you," and it's like, you just follow us, and I'll say, "Mom, I can type it into my phone. We don't have to follow. Like we'll see you there. We don't need to like coordinate the stop signs to make sure we don't get a break in traffic to follow."
like, nope, no cars in between us. Got to keep up with you.
Or they'll pull over, if
So then you can catch up.
in between us, and I'm calling them like, guys, we got it. It's okay. This happened like this past summer. We drove to Eau Claire.
Adorable.
And I'm just like, God, do you understand my dad works, he sells cell phones for a living. Like, I don't know what. Anyway, I forgot this was a thing we used to, like, rely on to get around.
Right.
Now it's so quickly, it's, like, so outdated that there's no need to do that.
I mean, again, with me being very low tech, I only got data on my smartphone. So not only did I wait till 2015-ish to get a smartphone, but then I waited to get data on it until like 2020.
Wow. Recent.
So, yeah. So I'm a newbie to GPS navigation. Like I've taken plenty of like solo road trips to like 6 hours just using like navigation of my eyes, which sounded weird to say. Just following road signs. Navigation of my eyes.
I'm like nodding along and I'm like, hold on.
Like the fuck is that?
Okay, I'm picturing like an Inspector Gadget type of like.
I have my Google glasses on.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're low tech, but all of a sudden we got Google glasses.
But also I've got Google glasses. I did that instead of data on my smartphone.
Made more sense.
I'm very snobby about which technology I use.
Only the most expensive option. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I don't know. It was just kind of like seemed like there might be a better solution, but we came up with the most like cutesy one, or one to like assign Cody to a task for the day, just to like.
I feel like he did need a task. So.
Yeah. Well, he did. There was a whole thing of like, Cody's like, I'm just giddy. I'm 12 today, not a care in the world. And then cut to Robyn steaming all the dresses and like creating an address jar, and like it's just like,
You're like, yeah, that's because Robyn's taking care of everything, and you're just like bouncing off the walls.
And then he does say like something along like, should I do something? It's like, yeah.
And then like in the confessional culture, he's like, I asked if she wanted me to do something. Like he wants like credit for that, and I'm like, it's your wedding too, man. You should be helping. What are you doing?
Yeah. So he gets the balloons to go bring to the fake address to like alert.
Basically, just on the sidewalk. He just like sets it on the sidewalk. It's like there.
Yes, he's convinced this address doesn't exist. So yeah, it's like a random point on the street. In case anybody's,
you know what? At some point, people will probably drive by and they'll see these balloons and maybe just stop and be like, "What is this?" and look at the jar.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the balloons definitely helped. Just the jar would have been silly. But good thing we had balloons to like.
Yeah, no one's gonna stop for just a glass jar on the side of the road, but the balloons are what made them stop. So, Robyn thought of everything.
Put yourself to be a passerby to that jar on balloons, just as a pedestrian that day, and come across that, and then say, "Hey, there's a wedding at this address. Let's go." Can you imagine? What luck? What luck would that be? All of a sudden, you're on TLC Sisterwives.
Yeah, and you just show up. Can you imagine living at the house that he just set it outside their yard? Can you imagine seeing a guy just roll up with some balloons in a jar, place it in next to your yard, and then just walk away with a camera crew?
Yeah, I want that footage of like the confused people like coming out and
like peeking through the window, like what?
Jar? Are we invited
over?
So Cody is tasked with finding and marking the wrong spot. That's what it wrote. And Robyn's just she gives the camera like a real like congrats, bud. Like you did it. You did it. You found an address.
Get that checked off the list, man.
Managed to make this extremely complicated, and sure, okay.
Classic.
The rest of the wives and kids pretty much go for a pampering day at the spa.
I thought it was so nice seeing like the teen girls all going, and they said how it was like their first time going to get their hair done and stuff, and they were having so much fun. And
it was cute. They all were like done up and like so that awkward like tweeny age where like the hairdresser's asking, I think it's Mariah, like, do you play any sports? And she goes, yeah, I like to play basketball. Like it's just like so like awkward and sweet. And like,
I felt for her because I was like, I could just see myself being in that situation.
Conversation you have to have with the hairdresser. Yeah, I thought that was very cute, and it was fun to see them all kind of treating themselves and like they've never gotten their hair done before, and it was very cute.
Yeah, it was little Truly, because she's bald, gets her little fingernails painted.
That was very cute. What do you have next on your timeline?
I have. So I've got the awkward flirting scene between Mary and Cody.
The editors got it really crazy with some like really saucy music in the background to really, in case we weren't like picking up on it, to really like hammer home this idea like they are feeling themselves. And yeah, that's exactly. It could have. It might as well have
just put that in.
Yeah, like, or some like Marvin Gaye. Like it was just so like like tying his thing, and she's like, and he's like, "You look good," and she's like, "You look good." It's so like.
And then the worst part, though, is they pan over. There's Mariah just standing there
in the doorway, just like leaning, like, but she doesn't seem like flustered at all. She's just like
She's just
there, like as if she's used to this.
right. Like, do they make these kind of comments all the time? She's like, I've learned to tune it out.
Yeah. I'm just like,
because I feel like at that age, just I mean, probably at any age, you'd be like, get a room, God, get away from me.
as you're like getting suited up for this other wedding, like it's just so weird. But
I wish it was my wedding night. Like, all right, Mary, keep it in your pants. Like,
damn, yeah, I'm like that is some sexual commentary from this Mormon polygamist lady. Like on camera, I was like, wow, Mary.
go take a cold shower and meet us back.
But he's like so into it too. He's like trying to kiss her, and she's like, like
I know, I look all coy. Like,
yeah, coy. Yeah. That's what it is. It's coy. Oh my gosh. And he's like so like on the prowl. And I'm just like,
you're gonna kiss me?
so weird.
Like,
And
good thing your teenage daughter's not standing right next to you. But
just like and seems unfazed, which honestly I'm like, that's like a good sign that she's like used to them being very affectionate, I guess.
maybe she went to like her happy place in her mind.
She might have been not present mentally at all for that. So who knows? Would love to know, Mariah, if you have any like
I would love to know. If you recall this conversation, you want to tell us your point of view from it, that'd be fun.
We don't have a hotline, but we'll create one if you would like. If you want,
I would gladly create a hotline if you want to call in.
It's just my phone number.
It's just my phone. I'm just gonna put it on speaker. And like, here's Mariah.
Okay. So, we kind of reflect, I think, then on. Oh, Robyn's on edge. Her kids are not cooperating, and she gets a real. This is like a very familiar to my family. A real like the bottom jaw juts out. There's like a little teeth gray. Open the door. Like,
Do it. Because of course she's like all dressed and ready to go. Her hair's done. She's got her dress on, and then they're being little shysters and locking the door or whatever.
Man, and she's trying to just get to
Not
her
today.
wedding. I was like, it was a short clip, but it made me laugh for it did.
Poor Rod. I mean, she's just. Cody goes, I didn't realize Robyn was so stressed out.
Yeah.
Okay, because you just running around giddy and not helping.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's nice, Cody. Maybe don't say it out loud. Again, we shouldn't be surprised anymore. He just says what he's thinking, and it's not always well conceived. So, yeah, that was funny too.
Yeah.
We do reflect on just their small religious ceremony that we didn't get to see, probably because it's in the temple. I know it's only religious. It's not. There's no like legal element to their
like a signing a witness or anything like that.
Well, no, I just know that they get sealed in the temple. Like that's their the Mormon. Not only Mormon, but the fact that they can't. Their marriage isn't legal, so it's only spiritual.
Right.
Yet.
Stay tuned, listener.
If that tickles your interest, please keep watching. So I know they get like sealed in the temple, and that's like their religious like commitment to each other, which comes up recently because Christine's marriage was not and never was legal to Cody. So when she like divorced him, it just basically means like I'm out of here. Nothing more needs to be done, and she no longer like feels bound to him. So like that's that. So we do our family pictures before the wedding, where Robyn has a brown dress to match the brown dresses, because Mary requested a family photo without her in her wedding dress, which I kind of thought was nice. Like it's just like a family photo. It's not like Robyn's wedding photo. I guess I don't know. I was trying to think about like what that would mean.
I had mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
Because in one way, for just a family photo, I thought that was good because they all matched, and It was no like putting one wife in more
Yep.
prevalence, in the photo or anything, and which was probably Mary's thinking of asking her to have a brown dress. But I also was kind of like, it's her wedding day though. Like, it's already enough to get dressed in your one dress for the
Yep.
wedding day. Like,
And then do a
and then
costume.
her switching back and forth outfits and stuff. I was just like, she should be able to just celebrate today.
Not the time for the family photo, maybe.
Yeah.
Like we'll do one later when it's not the wedding. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. They definitely could have just like had a different occasion. I guess it's like I don't know. I'd like to hear more about the thought process behind that. I mean, obviously she agreed to it, so like it wouldn't have been.
But then she kind of later, she seemed like maybe a little annoyed with it because she's like, and then I changed back into my wedding dress because I wanted it to be clear that I was getting married today.
That line, I don't know if that was supposed to indicate more or not. They didn't really get into any drama, but it was just interesting to go to that length. I feel like there had to be more conversation about it than what we saw. I mean, obviously there was, but like it seems like a lot to ask of her when she's already doing everything to then
Yeah.
put on a
And then
show.
when they bring up the point where they're like, Robyn, you didn't ask us, to watch the kids and stuff. You told us to go to the salon and get our hair done and everything, and we didn't know. Like, which, yeah, I mean, you can't read someone's mind. Like, if they need help or something, they should ask. But at the same time, too, you would think you'd be more like, what do you need from me today on your day?
Right.
you know?
And like they're not from unfamiliar with the struggle of like all the little kids. So like you think that'd be the first thing, like, oh, you're gonna be going nuts with all these kids, like let's take them with us or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, let's not have you have to worry about your kids today and watching them and getting them corralled and stuff. You just worry about getting ready and finalizing anything you need.
Yeah. I mean hindsight, I guess, but like yeah, that was interesting. I feel like again there was probably more to that as well. I can't paint this day in a negative light. I think it was like ultimately super positive and sweet and like it got a little teary at some of the moments that the family had together and the women had together. So like it was sweet. It was a palate cleanser from last week, but there are some things I'd like to know. Like, was this really that like no biggie, or was there a lot more conversation and stuff to be had that we just didn't
Right.
include? You know.
Yeah, I thought it was nice because they gave Robyn her Claddagh ring.
Yeah.
And her reaction, I thought, was really sweet to it. That she seemed really like surprised and touched that she got that. And I mean, they explained it, to the crowd and stuff that all the wives wear them as like a symbol to each other and kind of. And she seemed very grateful to get it and probably knew about it then from seeing their rings. And then to be gifted with one, she was like, I felt like I was like part of the club then,
Yeah.
And
Already.
it
Yeah.
was
It was sweet. It was like seemed like a very genuine, and like I'm sure even though she plays it off, I would say really well. It's got to be so intimidating to enter this family of three women. Like women, like in a group, are intimidating. I would say, like maybe I'm projecting a little bit, but like I would say that's a little intimidating. They're very established relationships. They have children intermingled. With Cody, like it's got to be intimidating just to waltz into this after like what 6 months and just like insert yourself in the family. So I bet that did mean a lot to her, especially knowing how sentimental she is. You know.
right. Well, I mean, it's like, how do you step in? And I know that they wouldn't say that they're competing. That's, but in some way, I think that's kind of subconscious that you're going to be competing a little bit for Cody's limited attention. So it
Mhm.
is like, though, how do you compete with a woman he's been married to for 20 years? Like, yeah, you're the new fun thing or whatever, but like, how do you like? You can't just shortcut 20 years of connection. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Hmm.
So that would be intimidating to look at it like that. Like, yeah, I mean, he's really interested in me now. He wants to marry me and stuff, but I don't know him like Mary and Janelle and Christine know him. It's not the same. Like they're way
Yeah.
decades ahead of you.
Mhm. It's so crazy to think how long the marriages are compared, and then bring like 20. We just celebrated the 20th anniversary, right? And this with Mary, and it was 20, right?
Right?
Last episode.
Yeah. So,
Um,
episode 5.
20 years. That's like almost my whole life difference. Like
Yeah.
it's just that is such a history to try to like again, not the word that you come to that comes to mind is compete, but like I can't even.
But you are going to compare that, though. I mean, you're going to compare, like, just the little thing of her making his eggs and him being like, no, Christine, I'll have to tell you how I like my eggs, because she doesn't know that yet.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so minor, like, but it is something that Christine has the years to know. Like, Cody likes his eggs like this. He doesn't like pepper, but how would you know that? You're new.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I think she does. I think I will say I think she has a lot of grace in that way, and she just tries to be accommodating and sweet, and maybe that's like her strength in this family at this point. But it is, yeah. And I would think you'd be uncomfortable even like offering up family suggestion like at the table when you're doing your like family meeting. Like, how do you like weigh in with your opinion when these people have 20 years on you in the family? Um, Christine tries to like kind of, I guess, like child psychology Robyn at the couch, and I was like a little cringe because it's like I don't know why. I guess I just have put a negative. Not that I think of Christine negatively. I just put more emphasis on what she says because of things that like transpi- transpire happen
Yeah.
later. Um, it just feels like she's like it feels undermining a little bit. I don't know.
I think so. Like, I think Christine can't help but be a little more, I don't know if you want to say, like, judgy or, like,
She is opinionated. Not even in like
very opinionated.
not even. I mean, I don't think she has bad opinions. Like I don't think she's like
No.
crazy or whatever. But like she is one with opinions, and she's like the kid person. Like Christine's like the kid. Like she has a special department in the family. It's like caring
She's
for
the caregiver. She's the mom.
children and like communicating with children and that kind of stuff. So it's like she's speaking up on her like on her territory, I guess, even though Brianna's not really like part of her like clan, and and Robyn kind of counteracts. I don't know. I wasn't sure if it was loaded. It felt like a little bit loaded, like, but also it's hard to say with Christine because she just is wanting to speak her mind, and I don't think it's usually ill intentioned, but she also is a little sneaky and like a little like smart like that, where she tries to like I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just like she just has like a
I
little
mean, just edge in, like, a comment, that
yeah.
that's, like, a significant, but it doesn't come across that way, maybe in tone or in
I guess
delivery,
you would call that passive aggressive a little bit. Is that how you?
That is, and I mean, like you've said, that's kind of a Mormon trait. So
Yeah, I gotta read that book. Pastor Jake. Shout out to Pastor Jake. He loaned me a
Pastor
book.
Jake,
It's called I Heart Mormons or I Love Mormons or something along those lines, and I have to read it. Haven't gotten to it yet, but
when you're done, send it to me, or I'll stop by and pick it up because
yeah, I'm curious. I am curious to understand it better. I feel like if I'm gonna have a podcast about this, I should probably be like a little more educated on the topic.
we're trying
We
little
do.
by little. We're just winging it. So
We do try. Um, the wives all kind of reflect on their reception, their weddings. Mary had a big wedding. If she was the first wife, it makes sense. There was no controversy there. Like, there's
a
no,
legal wedding.
it's just a regular old wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Janelle and Christine both had small weddings. Janelle, I feel out of practicality, and it sounds like there was some like controversy. I guess it was Janelle's second wedding, so maybe that plays a part in it too. I wonder what her first reception was like. If it was also small, I'm sure it wasn't like huge and flashy because that's just not her jam. But I
Right.
wonder if that played a part in it being a small, less supported wedding by her family or his family.
Right.
Um, but they call the wedding, and when I'm trying to like justify my reason for like loving this show and like creating a podcast and content on Instagram about it, um, they talk about this wedding as their coming out party, and like I'm not gonna co-opt that term like from like LGBTQ, like they
Right.
can, but I didn't get the impression that they were trying to like equate it. But I did like love and respect that because they did have to hide who they were from the public. Um,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not we agree with like, and I won't even say agree. I don't disagree with how they live. I don't. it's not for me, but I don't
Yeah.
personally have an issue with it.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about like LGBT. I personally am not, but it doesn't mean that I have any problem with
Exactly.
someone else. Same thing with the Mormon. It's not personally for me, but if you have consenting adults agreeing to plural marriage, who am I to tell you not to do it? It's not my business.
It's almost hard not to equate, like, again, not from the community. It's hard not to equate because it is fine for anybody. Not my like deal, not my like brand, like how I operate or want to live. I'm not polygamous and I'm not gay, but the polygamists are persecuted for who they love, and they have legally had to hide who they are in a lot of ways, not in different ways in different places, but um, it's hard not to equate, which is interesting too. I think they're not. I think they're aware of that because later when one of the kids comes out as gay, like they are very like accepting as much
Mm-hmm.
as they can, as much as they can be as like relatively conservative, religious people. Like they don't like disown their daughter or anything like that.
Right.
Um, it's hard not to compare, even though you don't want to like take away from like the struggle of like a much larger population who is
They
like
obviously have different experiences in the world, and I don't know. It's hard to equate struggles like
it is.
suffering and stuff. It's hard to like just because one person experiences one degree doesn't mean like it doesn't take away someone else's struggle. It's just hard to
I mean, they talk
quantify
about
that.
how we can't go in public and identify each other as what their relationship is. They don't say we're sister wives. They don't say that's that's our husband. All of our like
Yeah.
husband. These aren't all of our kids. That's similar to like how someone in the community lives in some areas of the country or situations or whatever where they can identify their partner. That kind of thing.
Mhm.
I mean,
It's just not being able to be who you are openly, no matter your orientation.
it's much more niche, so it's like not as like widely spread of a issue, but interesting. I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting they called their wedding a coming out party because they invited all the people in their real life to like celebrate them as who they are. B, it's on national TV. It's on a huge network of TLC where like it's gonna be viewed a million times. Like it is like they're saying we're not hiding who we are anymore, and we're gonna do it really freaking loudly. And
Mhm.
don't. As weird and as complicated as their relationships are, it still moves me a little bit. Like it's still, I'm like, yeah, like be who you
Well,
are.
to just say unapologetically, like this is who I am, is I mean, it can take people. Some people never reach that point in their life, so that's something to be applauded. I mean, again, I don't care what kind of lifestyle you want to live, as long as you're not hurting people or doing harm. I don't care what you're doing with your life. Like you do what you need to do that feels right to you and makes you happy. And if this is what makes them happy and feels right to them, you kids go for it.
So yeah, I'm with it. It makes me happy to see it. I can't explain why I have so much like support and love for them, even though like we episode by episode to see so many like issues. Like yeah, of course we do. Like that's what
I think
it would.
I don't know. I think you get attached to them. It's like it's not. I don't want to make it sound like it's creepy. Like it's they call it a parasocial relationship. Where you find attachment like to someone that you're watching. Like people do that with like YouTubers and stuff, where they're like, I just really love this person on YouTube. I feel like they're my friend, so to speak.
Interesting.
And it's not like that. I'm not like unhealthy. Like it's not like an unhealthy attachment. Like I'm not like thinking like I'm talking to the Browns or something. Like it's not it's not weird, but it just you do feel like you know them at least a little bit, and so once you get to know somebody even just a little bit, you start to have like affection though for them. I think.
I just googled parasocial relationship because I've never heard that term before.
Oh.
But it is interesting and like I relate because I'm a lover of podcasts,
Hmm.
of all sorts, and like especially they don't need any more free advertisement, but Armchair Expert is like my jam, and I
Yeah.
listen to them like, twice a week, if not more, when they have like special episodes out and stuff. And I feel very connected to Dax Shepard and Monica Padman, even though we have never and will never like have a dialogue. I listen to them so
Right.
much. I do feel like I have a stake in their life and their relationship. So it's very interesting with the term. And of course, there is a term for that, but um, it's funny to look up the definition because it says parasocial interaction refers to the kind of psychological relationship experienced by an audience in their mediated encounters with performers in mass media, particularly on television and online platforms. In case for the listener who also have never heard of that term before, I'm sure almost anyone can relate to that if you listen to podcasts or are really into a particular show or YouTube.
So, YouTube, anything. I mean, the way our online interaction is now. I mean, influencers. I'm
Yeah,
not someone, I don't care about influencers or anything, but tons of people love that. I mean, like, they have such an effect over their life and their purchases, their, their style, everything. I mean, it's just easy to
it just
feel like you know someone based on their what you see of them on online, on TV, whatever.
it just gives such a context to because to me, I'm gonna alienate like half our listeners potentially. Half of our that's only 6 people, so it's fine. Um,
We'll gain 6 more maybe along the way.
someday we'll have millions, but right now, um, people that are on the Facebook fan pages are so strong opinionated in mostly very, 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 very negative ways. Um, and it's like hard to, I guess I never thought to even categorize that as a term other than like just like strange people, like who are way too committed to like judging people who you see on TV for 20 minutes a week or whatever. Um, that's like how I feel about it, obviously. But I mean, we're not being not parasocial with the way we feel about the Browns, you and I. But B, so and as are they, even though they have like much more like visceral, like emotional, negative emotional reactions to the things that they see on the Sister Wives, and we are generally a more just supportive, I think, or like
I mean, we're trying to be as open-minded and
yeah,
like, I mean, we're making, criticisms and stuff here and there, but we're trying to also admit like these are human beings. And again, like if you showed me on a reality show, I'd have so many haters. And it's not that I'm a bad person or making a lot of dumb decisions, especially the older I get, I've gotten better. But if you showed me at 23, you'd be like, that chick's horrible. We hate her,
man. If you showed me every time I didn't like totally wash my hands when I came out of a public bathroom, you'd be
You're
just
like,
think
oh my God,
like
gross.
I was a trash person.
Yeah, I mean,
Taking mission like on a public platform, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like if we had 20 minutes of our lowlights highlighted from several months and showed it for in 20-minute increments on TV, and like you'd be like, wow, you're a trash person because that's the entertaining part is the weird stuff. But like what I'm the interesting part is we're all parasocial. Like you and I just channel it differently than the people who are angry about what happens on Sister Wives. Like we're like interested and observant and like generally have affection for the family. Affection is I'm using that term loosely. Like I'm not like trying to make it seem like we're
I'm
like
not in love with the fan, but I wish them well. Like I want good things
yeah.
for them,
I think I shouldn't say we. I generally have good feelings towards them. I feel like I know that some of them pretty like well after over all of the years.
Yeah.
As well as you can through a TV show and social media. But anyways, it's the same term to describe like a different like use of the emotion, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
think it's I don't know. I don't know if it's just like I don't know. I mean, I don't know why there's a difference, I guess. I mean, I look at it like trying to learn some and understand. Like I'm very interested in psychology and stuff anyway and like motivations of people. I find that very interesting. So I mean, trying to be empathetic and put yourself in their shoes, I find that like an interesting pastime to do. Not I mean I realize that's just me and like not everybody's like that, so maybe some people equate it with things in their own life that make them angry. I don't know what it is exactly that makes you want to rant about people you've never met online,
Um.
but
Anyways, we're really at the end of the episode for the most part. I mean,
yeah.
these are really cute kind of bit about how Cody's making the rounds saying goodbye to all the wives. He's walking away with Mary, and Mary, like, and Robyn talks about in the confessional how she's like, I was gonna let them have their time, like they were saying goodbye, we're about to go on our honeymoon. I'm not gonna like approach them and like engage in their private time. But Mary calls out to her and says like, come here, gives her a hug, says she loves her. And Robyn gets like emotional about that, and I got emotional about that. And
I thought that was really
yeah,
kind of needed because putting myself in Robyn's shoes, it's my wedding, and then I've got my new husband off with his 3 other wives having special goodbyes before we go and have our honeymoon. And it would make me feel just kind of glum, I think. And again, like, I'm not in the culture, so maybe she's kind of expected this, or it doesn't maybe affect her in the same way. I don't know. But it would just make me feel kind of like not special on my special day.
I mean, it's like, yes, and those wives had to take a back seat for all of this experience.
Yes.
She seemed to respect it, but it was very Mary so did not have to, and it would not have been surprised or whatever to say that she didn't reach out to Robyn at that moment.
Yeah.
I would not have thought twice about not reaching out to Robyn at that moment, but it's the fact that she did is so generous of her spirit, even though we know she is struggling with jealousy and things like that, and she still like wants to make Robyn feel welcome and say that she loves her. It was very. I was moved by that.
I know. I thought that was a really, and that just shows too, because Mary and Robyn started off first a connection from anyone in the Brown family, and then and we'll see it, in seasons coming down, like they do have a really good friendship and stuff. So it just was another example of their good connection that they have together. Mary really actually wanting Robyn in the family, despite feeling jealous and all these, conflicting emotions and stuff. She actually really does love Robyn, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It was very sweet. I have some thoughts, but before we get to those, there is a comment made by Christine. Do you have this written down as well?
Oh, I might have it. I do have one comment.
About their dreams for like the future family or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You could go ahead because I've been doing a lot of talking.
Well, no, you're fine. Well, Christine, they were all kind of talking at the end of the episode about their feelings, like their thoughts of what the future is going to be like, and they're all feeling pretty optimistic, and what they kind of see their future down the road, what it's going to be like. And Christine, I just wrote how things change because Christine really wanted to be all of us together in one big house.
All of us in our little quadrants or whatever.
And they're all like apartments in the big house. And we see present day not at all what she wanted.
She is the strongest opponent in the present day of a big house together. And the reason why she doesn't want the big house, she references this time in their life. She references the time when they're living in the Lehigh house. They're living in Lehigh, Utah currently. Which makes me just spiral and question everything she says all the time because it's like if you're saying that and I know that in 12 years all you can say is I hated living in that house. I felt less than living in that house. I was the basement wife living in that house. And season 1, episode 7, we're saying, I just want us to be in one big house and all of our quadrants. And like, man,
How
what,
genuine was that or not?
what, what like fake it till you make it almost kind of like wishful, like manifesting she was maybe trying to do or something.
Convince herself of it, yeah.
Oh, that is such a big thing that she points to as the problem in their relationship and even not as recent, but like why she does not want one big house on Coyote Pass. Hashtag Coyote Pass. Man, that was like I almost my jaw like was just like I feel like I'm discovering something here. Like that is crazy. I just have so many questions.
I think it's really, I mean, I've done this in my life in the past when I've been in a situation that I don't like per se, but I want to like it. And to be like, this is fine, this is exactly what I want, and you tell yourself that. You don't feel it, but you say it, and it is, I mean, it's the fake it till you make it kind of deal. Like, I am totally in it. I'm happy, I'm excited, even though you're literally not feeling those things, but you want to. It's easier to than to admit that you don't.
it's like it was such a nugget of like obviously she's expressed struggles in this relationship, like current season one, and obviously this is the unraveling of their relationship that she
Right.
posted today. It was just such a gold. It was just gold in like the archaeology of like we're saying we're doing this podcast to like say like what happened. And I'm so that line just like keep me awake all night. I'm just like I want like to talk more about with her about what was going on there and like if she knows and remembers what her thought was behind that comment, if it was really deliberate, if it was really she wasn't aware yet. I want to know. That's what it is. I want to know how aware she was of what she was saying. And if we're looking at it on Christine, she's probably 35 here. Have,
I think she's 37 at this point. Yeah.
so she is older and wiser than I am now currently, and so it does make more sense to think that she would have been aware at this point that she was putting on some kind of act and being in.
I think, and I mean, everybody's different. I think me where I'm at now emotionally and in is as wise as I can be at this moment in my life. I think if you gave me another 7 years or so, I think I'd be pretty aware of it
Yeah,
personally. Not to say everybody reaches out, everyone's different, but
yeah.
I think there's a probably pretty decent chance that she's got a good amount of awareness that it's not for her and she just wants it to be.
Um, well, thanks for joining us again on Podlygamists. We have an email you can send us emails to. It's podlygamistpod@gmail.com. If you don't know how to spell it, you can look at the title of the thing that you're watching. Uh, we have an Instagram at Podlygamistpod on Instagram. We have a YouTube, which is Podlygamistpod. If you like, just type in that, it comes up as the channel that we have everything on. Um, please rate, review, and subscribe. Um,
And
it
eventually, I mean, I guess we could say this. We're planning on getting a website sooner rather than later. So
apparently the algorithm demands a website, so we're gonna give it a website.
apparently, you need to get a website to have an online presence or whatever. So
We're thinking merch, um, DVD on those designs. Yeah, I mean, we'll post something on the follow Instagram to get the latest of the news on that. And I guess the YouTube will have something in the descriptions. Did you have any closing remarks?
I got nothing.
Cool. Sounds good.